Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Nothing but dramatic finishes in the Big Ten last night. Nebraska at the wire beat Illinois. Tony Carr hit a three to send it to overtime before Minnesota finally won it. And then there's Michigan and Maryland in Ann Arbor last night. We have both calls from Johnny Holiday and Matt Shepard.
Cowan brings it up. 12 seconds to go. Maryland down by 2. Morcell drops it down to Checo. 7 seconds remaining of the game. 6 seconds. Herder with a 3. Got it! Got it with 3 seconds to go in the game.
Livers. A football pass to Rahman. A dribble drive. And he's fouled! Trip by Bruno Fernando with 0.9 seconds left.
And Rahman went to the line, and he hit his first free throw to tie the game, which, by the way, was .999 in his career. He then hit the second free throw to put Michigan in front and win it with his 1,000th career point. How about that to get 1,000? Two good friends of mine, Matt Shepard, is about as good a guy as you're ever going to be around, calling the Michigan games. And then there's Johnny Holiday, who told Rose Carter from Sports Information, he looked at Rose, he said, look, he said, if Steve and I, he said, I've told many people this, if Steve and I lived about an hour close to each other, we'd be out there playing golf and having such a good time, our wives would get ticked off. So,
that sounds pretty accurate.
No, John, I think I think the world of Johnny.
You do.
I mean, I really do. I mean, you can't get a better guy than Johnny Holiday. Awesome announcer too. I mean, awesome pro. So, been very lucky. Okay, let's get to Neal Coolong. You know, have you seen that some of the minority owners? The Rooneys own about, I think, 30% of the team.
Not as much as people think anymore. Correct.
Right. But the minority owners have no stake in the management of the team. The Rooneys do. They have all, in other words, they couldn't hire or fire the janitor, right? So they said, maybe we ought to get rid of Tomlin. And there's a rumor running rampant out there that Neal Coolong is one of them.
You may not think that, but I was the one responsible for the Senquez Golson pick, so I lost my my voice in the ownership office.
Yeah, he certainly had speed at Ole Miss, I thought. Yeah, that worked out well. Well, let's just start in general. How did you view the game and how it played out, decisions were made, and so forth? How did you, in real time, what were you thinking?
First off, let me say this. The first thing I thought about today going into this call was I don't think I've ever made that bold of a prediction on the air or in writing before and been so horrendously wrong. I mean,
Neal,
that was, Neal, tying that into my initial part. That was,
Neal, I said they would woodshed this team, my exact words, and they would shut them out. So,
yeah,
I mean,
honestly,
how wrong can I be? Well, let's say extremely.
I think everyone was wrong, which almost kind of makes it a unified effort in a way. I mean, it was my first thought was with that first touchdown, I was like, okay. I expected a little more out of the run defense. And then the second drive, it was like, is their locker room heated? What's going on? I mean, they're moving like molasses. They were really slow. There was no sense of urgency immediately, not at all matching the bravado that they had leading into the game. And I'll admit a flaw here. I bought into that. I was thinking, okay, I mean, they're really being brazen about this. They wouldn't go this far, in my opinion. I think I said that last week.
Right.
They wouldn't go to these lengths if they were not supremely confident in their ability. You absolutely did not see that in the first half, really at all. I mean, there were maybe a moment or two, but the defense was horrendous throughout the entire first half.
Yeah.
by that point, 28-7, it was over. I mean, I was, packing up. I was putting out the, what do you think of the Steelers season questions on Twitter. For them to have made the comeback that they did, it was, in a way inspiring. There was a good stretch of play in the third quarter, but then the same stuff came back. And to me, it didn't seem like Jacksonville really changed anything on offense. It was the same stuff over and over again. Your screen passes, your swing passes, throwing a cross every now and again, and Artie Burns completely losing the football when matched up in man, one-on-one with a rookie undrafted free agent receiver. If that doesn't personify everything right there, you have all the momentum in the world, and you just gave up a 60-yard bomb to a guy that nobody drafted like a couple months ago. This is a playoff game, guys. I mean, it was miserable. That's one of the worst Steelers games I've ever seen. And that's accounting for the fact that they had a shot in the fourth quarter. They really did. Somehow they came back to it.
I'll get to a couple other things in a moment. I want to get to Burns for a second. To me, that was the second most egregious mistake he made in the game. The other one was the dump off to Yeldon, who was supposed to have outside leverage on that play. And when you look at it, he's behind William Gay, the nickel guy, when the ball's dumped off. He's supposed to have outside leverage on that play.
Yeah, underneath, it looked to me like he had flat responsibility, at least, in letting Yeldon and several other
went 40 yards.
It was the depth that they were giving them. They were actually Randy Mosses. I mean, it just really, the aggression just wasn't there. And Burns has had an issue with spacing, in my opinion. Everyone gets after, Keith Butler now, and they got after Dick LeBeau for the amount of space that cornerbacks play off. I mean, I don't think people quite understand how fast NFL cornerbacks really are. But with Burns, it's not his physical speed. It's that he's flat-footed when the ball is snapped. You don't know where he isn't really comprehending what's going on. It seems like what is coming in front of him, and with that, he misdiagnosed that play. And you're right, he got lost on the field. That's why he didn't have outside contain. It looked to me like he didn't know where he was.
Right.
And that was the same problem with the deep ball. He got lost. Somehow or other, he got lost. It's just a terrible game from at least that side. Both with him, I don't think Mike Mitchell played particularly well either.
No.
It really, unfortunately, masked a pretty solid performance from Joe Hayden, who I thought locked down pretty much the other side of the field. So to me, it speaks even more to the point. You have such a one-dimensional offense that carved you up. I mean, a high school team could have had success on third down against the Steelers defense. The pass rush wasn't there. Coverage wasn't nearly as sharp against really two guys the entire game. And for them to give up 45 points to that, I don't think I've ever seen the Steelers defense like that. It was just a miserable performance.
You and I, obviously, the Steelers scored on two long fourth down plays, the one to Martavis Bryant, the other one to Antonio Brown. But in the early going in that game, they went forward on fourth down a couple of times. And now, this is me. I didn't agree with it. I thought, look, just get some points here because it's a long game. I felt like they panicked at that point. Now, you may have a different opinion. You may have thought, hey, look, you're the better team established. So how did you look at a couple of the early fourth down attempts that they didn't make and didn't get points?
I think the first one is the most telling to me. The first one, the situation was, okay, we're not going to let these guys come in here and bully us in our own house. This is our strength. We've built this team to be short yardage. We put a ton of money into our offensive line. We're holding on to our running back still. We've got talent on the outside. We should be able to get a yard against anybody. That's my thought going into it. But the real problem was you had that pretty much the same decision on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3 or whatever it was, the down before it. And they run a quick pitch 5 yards deep in the backfield against probably the fastest pursuing linebacking group in the NFL. To me, it was like, wait a minute, what Jaguars team do you think you're playing here? These guys can move. They're fast. Not to mention the fact, Jalen Ramsey is probably the best all-around cornerback in the NFL. That guy can hit, and he wants to hit. You can't run at him with a tight end. I mean, it's really just not a very good idea. Not to mention the fact, it's not like you're talking about Mark Bruner or anything here. I mean, Vance McDonald, for as well as he played and an admirable job he did, kind of picking himself up throughout the season, he's not going to be able to block a guy like that with that much space. This isn't a quick block. This is a deep, long pitch. That's an old-school football play. I didn't like the play on 3rd down at all. For 4th down, it's like, okay, you're now trying to make up for your mistake. Now you're going to get inside, at least run inside zone, if not power. So what do? They pitch it out to the right again.
Yeah.
Why?
I know.
For the life of me, I can't understand that. That, to me, was arguably the worst play call I've seen, the most confusing play call of the Todd Haley era. And I'm not somebody that bashes play calling all that much.
Right.
It's done in a vacuum. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It's no reason you should have called that play, or at least that concept, twice in a row. There's no way you should have done that. So you threw it away. In that case, then, yeah, I agree. Kick the field goal if that's your best play. That's not going to work.
Especially when you're facing a speed team and you attack speed teams straight ahead. And allow the other part too that for the Steelers that had to be really disappointing is that Jacksonville got pressure with 4 all day and rarely, I don't even remember if they even blitzed.
Yeah, they really didn't. They're not a blitzing team. That's what they've built to do, and that's why they're so difficult to beat when you get a big lead. And the Steelers, probably more than any team in the NFL, now knows that, and that was why it was so critical early for them to get points on the board, getting back to your earlier point. But the 2 touchdowns allowed right away, that plays exactly into Jacksonville's hands. At that point, that is going to be such a difficult team to beat simply because they want to run the ball. They don't have anything of a dynamic offense. They have to be conservative. So in reality, all they're going to do is milk the clock, and they're going to attack you up front. What they can't really do all that well, typically, is stop the run. And the Steelers could not get the run going right away, really, because they didn't commit to it. They threw on 5 of their first 6 downs, and in that, they didn't really try to attack Jacksonville where they lived. They wanted to invite Saxonville to Pittsburgh, which to me is a tremendous mistake, and it's the same mistake they made in the first game. So they obviously didn't learn anything from it, and they got beat in certainly on the defensive side of the ball way worse than they did. All these things put together, it was the most confusing and disappointing coaching performance I've seen of the Steelers in the Mike Tomlin era. I don't think I've seen a team less in position to win a game than they were in this one.
Antonio Brown, what do you think? 75, 80%, just as a guess off the top, around there?
Okay. I think that's fair.
All right.
He was limping after runs.
Do you know what I noticed right away on every catch, and especially on the 2 touchdown catches?
He didn't celebrate?
No double.
Yeah, well, that's
Jacksonville
too.
Right, but he was single covered all day. And you and I both know he demands a double. I wonder how much that played into, because Roethlisberger was looking around, where is everybody? And because his prime guy was not double like he normally is, that left other people out there and no lanes to throw in. I thought that played a role in how the game played out. From
what I saw of Jacksonville, what it seemed to me that they wanted to do was try to limit Bell underneath more than anything. They took a lot of guys on him.
Yep.
I think that might be where the safety had gone.
Right.
They've got the speed with the linebackers to keep up with a guy like Bell in the short field, but more than anything, they wanted to limit him after the catch. And they did a very good job of that outside of the gorgeous wheel route touchdown that he scored. That's impossible. I don't know if there's more than another 2 running backs in the NFL that can make a play like that.
No doubt.
Other than that, they only held him to like 7 yards a catch, which is a great job against him. And the risk, of course, is you're going to put at least single high coverage on a playing field with Roethlisberger and Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith-Schuster on the other side. So to me, what Jacksonville really is saying is we're going to dare you to throw deep because we like our cornerbacks, as well they should. And more than anything, we're going to beat you to the ball. We're going to get our 4 guys in your face before you can throw that deep. And the interception that Ben threw on the first drive was exactly that. Not a deep route, but they ran a stunt. They pushed, I think it was Marcus Gilbert on Malik Jackson. Jackson pushed Gilbert back far enough into Roethlisberger. He couldn't step into his throw. So he threw a really bended out route, and Miles Jack just undercut McDonald for a great turnover. That's what they do. And to me, you see a lot of this today with the championship level teams. I mean, going back to the Giants in 2007 and 11, they did a lot of this. Seattle runs a lot of this. It's not an intricate or complex defense. It's just a very physical and very fast one. So the Steelers just really couldn't keep up with that in some cases, but at the same time, they made them pay. I mean, Roethlisberger was on fire in the second half.
No
he
doubt.
Brought him all the way back.
Yep.
So the gamble was there for Jacksonville, and in the end, they got the win because really they made the big plays, but they paid for them too.
Well, it's obvious. What's interesting is the Steelers had chunk plays. I mean, any team that gets that many chunk plays in one game for touchdowns normally wins with complete ease. And they got a lot of chunk play. The play to Bryant, the play to Brown, the play to Bell. I mean, those are huge plays from scrimmage. All right, so now we get to the final 212. What were your thoughts on watching how the final 2-12 played out?
I have no idea. I really don't. Honestly, I wasn't even looking. I didn't think there was a way in the world they were going to kick an onside kick.
Neither did I.
I was looking somewhere else. I was like, wait a minute, you did not onside kick that. Why would you do that? Logically, it makes absolutely no sense. I think Mike Tomlin, he summarized his decision perfectly at his press conference when he dropped his classic, I don't live in my fears bit. Like, well, do you live in fear of success then? I don't understand. You have no statistical reason to do that. If you're worried about Jacksonville driving the length of the field for a game-winning touchdown, why are you not worried about them getting 10 yards for a field goal? I don't understand that at all. Right. It makes no sense to me. Not to mention the fact, have you noticed I don't think that his teams have even recovered an onside kick in his era. Chris Boswell is the guy who missed the ball off the tee.
Yeah, 2007. 2007 is the last time the Steelers recovered an onside kick. 2007.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know.
And I mean, literally, 2007 is the last. Man. But you and I both know the rules have changed on onside kicks. You can't load up 9 guys on one side anymore. You're not allowed to.
Nope.
That's why the percentage of that play has actually dramatically gone down, because you'd have guys running down and blocking guys off the play and going after the ball, so you'd have at least a better chance at it. Now they've really taken away almost any realistic shot of it unless you get a really great bounce.
Yeah, you have to get that bounce. It's essentially impossible. There's no way you can do that. If it was, it would be weaponized by now in the NFL. You just can't. It's a complete fluke luck play. You have 2 minutes and 12 seconds left, 2 timeouts, which is another side note I thought was a miracle for once the Steelers are in a close competitive game at the end and they have more than 1 timeout. That never happens. Right. They have a very good opportunity. They really do. The game is not over at that point.
2-minute warning plus 2 timeouts.
Just kick it off. Believe me, I understand your defense hasn't done much, but you need to ask them to do something for once. And if they do at that point, then it's on them. But now you've drug yourself into it. Now you've created a strategic problem. There's no reason for you to give them short field with the opportunity to go up 2 scores when the converse is one of 2 things. One, make them drive the length of the field. And really, are they going to do that again? I don't know, maybe. But it's still Jacksonville's offense. You still have the opportunity to make a play on the ball. Or you kick for the least likely scenario in all of football. Why would you choose that option considering the consequences at that point? If there's a minute left and you have no timeouts, I totally get that. Yeah. With a 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts, there's no reason you do that at all. I don't care if he lives in his fears or not. That's a ridiculous call. Not one that cost them the game, but certainly one that went in line with the rest of the team throughout that entire game. It really balanced out a perfectly horrendous game in many ways in all 3 phases.
Finally, Neal, is this an off-season of drama or quiet?
Well, I think for their sake, it better be quiet. I don't know another way to put that. It will be dramatic in the sense that you've got a couple looming decisions. Interestingly enough, with Roethlisberger going into the second to last year of his contract, this is typically when they've begun negotiations on an extension. A report comes out that he wants to play 3 more years. To me, looking at it holistically, that's almost code for I want an extension.
Right.
So considering their cap position and their position on Le'Veon Bell, you might be able to work around a few things to get to that tag level, which I know I said that wouldn't happen. Anything's possible with the salary cap if you really want it to happen. An extension would probably work a lot better. And looking where the Steelers are, it might be better for them to explore, overpaying for him a little bit just simply because of how phenomenal of a year he had. Imagine if he had training camp under his belt.
Yeah.
All of those things said, I think it'll be a very intriguing year for them. But in terms of the bravado, the brashness, I think they should probably just can it, eat some humble pie, and really figure out how you need to be a championship team. Because in reality, there's probably only 3 or 4 guys in the Patriots that would start in the Steelers. And the Patriots are probably going to win a Super Bowl again. Why is that? It's not just about talent. You guys are putting way too much on yourselves as individuals. You're not focusing on what the team really should be. And I know that because you get into way too many games like this that experience should win out. You guys should be at the point that you can beat the Jacksonville team at home in the playoffs. There's really just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You should be able to beat New England by now. But to me, if anything, what I want to look for is a couple of veteran defensive players that can come in and kind of take care of things. Doesn't have to be an overly talented or a high-paid guy. Somebody that wants a ring, somebody that is known as a very strong, high-character leader and somebody that can unite a team in such a way that it can get them over the top for a potential championship. Look back at Kevin Green in the early mid-'90s. That's exactly the role that he played. In my opinion, that's the kind of guy that they need to find right now.
Well, Neil, at least the Pirates stood pat, and you and I have something to look forward to in the spring and the summer. Yeah,
that's a championship contending team there. Did you see Josh Harrison now just flat out said, "Well, maybe you should trade me too."
Supposedly they are. The word on the street is that they are shopping.
Huntington's response, we're way ahead of you, Josh. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
We'll get something for you.
We're talking to 3 teams. We're good. All right, Neil. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. That was. I thought you handled that pretty well. Thanks.
Oh, you should have seen me Sunday.
All right.
It was far less reactive. It was a state of sullenness after a while because it's like a week of this now. They're going to put up with this. Fire Tomlin, fire everybody.
I know. Everybody always has to be fired all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I do that to my insurance agency all the time. Fire everybody. I didn't like how you guys handle that. Fire them all. All right. Neil, thanks.
Good stuff. We'll talk to you guys.
Neal Coolong, USA Today. Fire everybody. That'd be great. What do you think? Who do you want to fire?
After that first 4th down play where, he needs a couple inches. They pitch it 5 yards back to Bell. Fire Haley. Fire Joey Porter.
What the heck?
Let's have a fire sale just like the Pirates.
Well, they ran that 4th down play, and I yelled out, "Fire the digital media guy." All right, we'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you today. Brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We are having right now what I refer to as the Hallmark Channel snow. Every time you see one of those Hallmark movies around Christmas, it's always that big flakes, gentle snow, no breeze. That's what we have. Hallmark Channel snow. Brought that up to the suit one day, and he said, "I get Hallmark Channel." All right,
yeah,
great.
Me too.
Okay.
No, I know exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's one of the TVs in our house. That was the most watched channel at our place for sure for all those Christmas movies. But you got the puffy white light snow, easy to take off your car, and
gentle.
Yep. If you're going to get 2 to 4 inches accumulation, stretch it out over a period of longer than 12 to 24 hours, that we can handle.
No big deal.
Yeah. Although it was enough, though, to cause some early dismissals across the valley today. We were supposed to have Shikellamy basketball tonight with the suit and the Chief tonight. Shikellamy-Lewisburg has been postponed. No new date has been set yet. And Shikellamy-Shamokin wrestling tonight, that's been pushed back to Saturday at 3. And, of course, Steve will have that for you here on WKOK. Steve Williams, that is.
Do the people realize that he disguises his voice and he calls off games?
I'll have to look into that a little further.
I just want, I don't want to work.
I don't work for free.
Yeah, that's for sure. Right, Ben Roethlisberger will be back with the Steelers next year, and he also says he didn't want to see the staff change. A weekly radio show says he doesn't want to commit to football past 2018, but stress continuity for players and coaches in the offense is critical. So I'm just playing it a year at a time. I'm excited to come back next year. And there was a report in the Post-Gazette saying that he told teammates he was open to playing 3 more years. Now, as Neil mentioned, this is his way of getting a contract extension. He said, I'm not going to look past 1 year. I'm going to look forward to next year and give it everything I have. And he says he wants Tomlin back and he wants to see Todd Haley back. So
that's smart because he knows that all the pieces are still in place for another deep run next year if everything falls into place the way it should. Let's see.
Well, I mean, look, they have the talent. Now, defensively, they're going to have to get better.
Oh, linebacker for sure.
I mean, no offense, but 42 should win it for you. It's just a thought. I'm no expert. But I really feel like 42 should win a game for you.
I would. I couldn't tell you the next time I'll see another 45-42 game like that.
That normally does the trick, scoring 42. So, yeah. But he wants back, and that's fine. That's good. You know, look, there are not many quarterbacks that fill the bill in the NFL in terms of speed of the game, ability, playmaking ability, things like that. There just aren't that many of them. But, you know, I mean, because anytime you make a move, you can't just make a move to make a move. You have to make a move and ask whomever I get, are they as good or better? Well, with Ben Roethlisberger, no offense, that's a pretty easy question to answer. At this stage, you're not going to get somebody better. And it's going to be difficult to get somebody better unless you acquire them in a deal or you suddenly have a tank season where you're going to draft high and you're going to draft someone. What was Roethlisberger, the 11th overall pick?
Yes.
Yeah. It was one of the rare years they drafted that high. I mean, simple as that. They had to get rid of him, go with something. No. Although I haven't heard many fans say they had to get rid of him. He's coming off a 5-touchdown performance, for goodness sakes. Was he perfect? No. But you know what? You know,
was the scoop and score big in the game? Absolutely, but you can't hang. You can't hang that loss on him. Absolutely not.
No. Now, do I think the first quarter and a half he played well? No. Do I think the last 2.5 quarters I thought he was phenomenal?
Oh, those 2 touchdown throws to Bryant and to Brown, both on 4th down. It's like, I was like,
right.
What, I'm like, you kidding me? You got to be kidding me. Oh my goodness. Phenomenal throws. Yes.
No, I'm also for Tomlin's thing.
I am too, because I just can't think of anyone else out there that's going to do a better job than he has. I mean, multiple trips to the AFC Championship, been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, lost one. And it's like, just who else you going to get?
That's what I've found interesting about, they recycle coaches so often in the NFL. And it looks like Josh McDaniels is going to get the Colts job. I'm trying to think who was it that was in line for the Tennessee job. But Josh McDaniels has had one head coaching job in the NFL with Denver, and it didn't go that well. Now, look, personnel's different, experience level's now a little bit more different. I just, after a while, a lot of it comes down to performance. Now, do I agree with going for it as often on 4th down in the first half? No. Do I agree with the onside kick? No. They came out, I kept thinking, okay, kick it away, because, look, you're going to have one guy back. Jacksonville, of course, has to prepare as if you're kicking an onside kick. You're going to have one guy back.
You brought up a great point in the conversation with Neal Coolong about the onside kick. You're right. I mean, now with that wham rule in effect, I mean, you literally are going up against a stacked deck trying to recover the ball in an onside kick.
Right. I mean, you can only put, I think, 5 guys on each side now. It's so hard to get it. You just can't. You can't do it anymore. And look, if you kick it away, there's 2:12 left. So you kick it away, and you're not going to kick it away for a touchback. You're going to kick it away where he's going to catch the ball, especially on a cold day like that, at about the 2-3 yard line. It's a good chance you're going to be able to get him between the 15 and 20. Well, now you've got the field position, and now you look at your defense and say, look, you got to stop 3 running plays because you can't expect Jacksonville at that point to be adventurous. You know, they're in protect mode. And I thought when they went for the onside kick, he took away all of his options. But the onside kick led to a field goal, and that meant the touchdown at the end was completely meaningless. Oh, well. What's done is done. Now you have in your Final Four Case Keenum, Nick Foles, Blake Bortles, and Tom Brady.
Roger Goodell, your thoughts?
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? You know, I thought Brady played really, really well on Saturday night against Tennessee.
They just looked unfazed, even though Tennessee got an early score. You just knew eventually they were going to pull away.
But you look at the last month. In reality, how well did Brady play? I thought Brady in the last month played well, but not great. You know what I mean? I mean, we're so used to Brady being great. I thought he played well, but not to his usual standard. Now, I thought the playoff game was close to his usual standard. I thought he was accurate. I thought, But I felt the last month of the season, he just seemed like he was like a half step off here and there at times.
Well, you got Chris Hogan now back into the mix as a wideout after his injury. And I think a name we're going to start to hear a lot more of is James White.
Yeah, I mean, they got them both back in there. They're using Lewis now as a first and second down back. And White is now coming on as the third down option for them.
But what a phenomenal 180 that defense has taken. I mean, that defense was just getting ridiculed and abused and shredded after that Week 1 matchup with Kansas City, thinking, how are they going to repair that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Patricia strikes it while it's hot to get a coaching position, if that's where he's going to go.
By the way, I wish I had a chance to talk to Gene Steratore about this last time, but I didn't. He came out in the court, and we already had started on the air. But of course, the Vikings had to come out, and they had to send out the Saints for the extra point. Now, the spread in the game was 5.5. The converted extra point would have made it 6. By taking a knee, it made it 5. And there is a regulation rule that exists, and it is not changed for the playoffs because of point differential. It has nothing to do with the fact there's a 5.5-point game. The issue is that the NFL never thought far enough ahead to game plan for this. Sunday was the first fourth-quarter walk-off touchdown pass in playoff history. In the regular season, the extra point's a big factor. Why? Because point differential happens to be a tiebreaker. I don't know how far down the list you have to go to get to point differential. I don't know if it's like the 5th or 6th or 7th tiebreaker, but you do have to kick the extra point for that. In the playoffs, they need to now amend that and just waive that. Now, if it is a 2-point or a 1-point game, that has to be the caveat where you have to kick it. Why? Because now, when they changed the rule 2 years ago to be in compliance with the college rule that's been in existence now for almost 30 years now, where if you block it or pick up a fumble or intercept it, you can return it defensively for 2 points. That's why, for example, when Penn State beat Iowa in the last play of regulation, Penn State had to go out and take a knee to end the game on the extra point because it made it a 1-point game. Iowa could score and win it. So you had to do it. Well, 5-point game, and it should be any game that's 3 points or greater in the playoffs that ends on the final play of regulation. You don't need to run an extra point play. That should be the rule. It's 2 points or 1. You have to because it is a scoring play for the defense. Potentially they could tie the game, or maybe if it's 1 point, win it. But that's the reason why. See, that's where the regular season rule warps into the playoffs. It looked ridiculous, except in the regular season it has meaning because it is one of the tiebreakers. Point differential. We'll take a break. Back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Sunbury Motors. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years. All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Thanks to Neal Coolong. Tomorrow, Dave Spadaro to talk about the Eagles. Tomorrow. Guess they're going on tour again? I'm just kidding.
They are going out on tour.
So you didn't think I'd do this stuff.
Yeah. Vince Gill's now joined them.
Yeah, there you go.
That's bucket list for me for concerts. I would love to see them. I heard a rumor this morning. There's a possibility of a Def Leppard Journey tour, on the same ticket in 2018. So, hope that would love to see that happen. And if it does, maybe a PA date, maybe a little road trip down to Hershey Park.
I remember when the Eagles came to the Jordan Center.
Yes,
it was a big deal.
It was.
David Letterman came in for it.
Really, I never knew that. Wow. Yeah.
You act as if I don't pay attention to
I don't know where you're getting that from.
Hey, my goodness. Yeah, I think haven't I taught you to discount?
I know. It's been 22 months. You'd think I'd learn.
The opinions of a certain individual who just wakes up every day bitter. I mean, he makes Chuck Schumer look happy. All right, so
Mr. Schumer, what are your thoughts on Trump weighing 239 pounds?
Oh, my goodness. Oh. Brutal.
Watch, we'll get up tomorrow morning and we'll see Trump tweeting about Schumer's thoughts about him weighing 239 pounds. Once we thought we've seen everything, we haven't.
Oh, no. We're far from done with certain things.
Yes.
But to its credit, it's made On the Mark lively.
Right. Cross promotion. Yep.
I cross-promote On the Mark.
You bet you do.
Exponentially more than he promotes this show.
I think you're right. I should have chimed in a little quicker, though.
No, you had to think about it.
I had to think about it, yeah. Because there's been some times here and there, if they have to go deep into the bullpen, they'll call me in to run the calls for that show, too.
Yeah. No, it doesn't not like he doesn't want to. But he gets really busy on the show, just like we get busy on the show.
Yeah,
so, he gets,
Yep, they get phone calls right off the jump, and they've got topic points they need to get to. Sure. Yeah.
Then you get the moments where they're like fighting with each other, and then there's the arm wrestling moment. So you get distracted. I understand that.
Yeah, great radio.
There's a lot to talk about. For a talk radio station, in a lot of ways, this guy's been a boom. Whatever you think about him, pro or con, hey. Yeah.
Well, the arm wrestling's not complete unless Ben Reichley's into referee it. So
it's true.
Yes.
Now, I did talk to the suit briefly yesterday. All right, and I think when I was done, I explained to him that jumping into the ice that he would only be wounded.
I've been in a polar bear plunge.
Deb's having surgery. I've had surgery. No. Okay, let's try the sympathy thing here, okay? How you doing? What was that one? I said, of all people, when you said, I've been to prison. You said that. I didn't say that.
Oh, I did.
You did.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did.
Oh, I know you did. That's what made it 2,000 times funnier. I could have said it like, you said it. I fell on the floor.
We'll see if we can top it. We'll see if we can top it this year. It's still early.
No, my first thought was, my goodness, I've corrupted this dude.
In less than 22 months.
You'll never be the same.
Your station for news, weather, business, and CBS Sports Radio. News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury and on WKOK.com.